The famous mansions, referred to as Gilded Age summer cottages in Newport, Rhode Island, were built as status symbols, each meant to outdo the next and impress Gilded Age society. But while some families were loudly competing to prove they belonged at the very top, others were thinking more long-term. The Elms was a calculated move to secure a legacy, transforming the image of new money wealth into old money credibility, quietly and through French taste. Because at the turn of the century, French design was the gold standard. They were building a legacy that bridged the gap between old money and new money in a society that cared deeply about lineage, taste, and tradition. But what sometimes gets lost is what it took to maintain this world. The staff of this house famously went on strike, which started to shatter the illusion of a perfect operation system behind these mansions' walls. Today, we're touring the Elms in Newport, Rhode Island, soaking in the timeless French-inspired design, learning about the people who built it and who kept it running, and understanding how this house could transform one's image through design and guarantee a lasting legacy. Hi, I'm Allie, and welcome back to Fab Little Dish, where we celebrate the love for vintage home. If you love these house tours, then please hit subscribe and give this video a quick thumbs up. It really does help the channel and these beautiful houses get more attention, and it encourages more visits. But for now, come along with me. Let's go back to Rhode Island together and explore the Elms. Edward Julius Berwind was born in Philadelphia, and as the son of a German immigrant cabinet maker, he grew up very determined to be successful. And by the turn of the 20th century, he had built one of the most powerful coal enterprises in the country. His company supplied coal to the Vanderbilt railroads and even the New York City subway system. Quite literally, the Gilded Age ran on Berwind coal. Before entering the coal trade, Berwind served in the Navy and rose to become naval aide to President Ulysses S. Grant, a position that introduced him to political circles long before he entered New York and later Newport society. He then joined his brother and partner in the Berwind White Coal Company, where he earned his millions. And of course, fortunes of this scale rarely come without any consequence. Coal mining at the turn of the century was one of the most dangerous professions in America. Thousands of miners lost their lives each year to explosions, mine collapses, and black lung disease. By 1907 alone, the deadliest year in U.S. mining history, more than 3,000 miners were killed nationwide. This even touches close to home for me. My great-grandfather was a coal miner in Pennsylvania, and he died of heart complications later in life. So, again, this touches a little close. Sarah Vesta Hermione Torrey Berwind was from a Boston family, but born and raised in Italy, where her father was the American consul to Genoa. He also ran the famous marble quarries in Carrara, so this, no doubt, shaped her eye for style and her taste. Edward built the fortune and Sarah refined its presentation. She was determined to secure the Berwind name as a permanent pillar of society. She fully embraced the expectations of Gilded Age status and what a Gilded Age wife was supposed to do for the home. Her taste was known to be extravagant, and she spared little expense when it came to the arts, the furnishings, and all of the decorative objects that filled the Elms. The couple didn't have any children. There really isn't a documented reason as to why, that I was able to locate at least, but it seems their marriage was a respectful and amicable one. He provided the wealth, she gave him the access to society. And hand in hand, they were a quiet powerhouse. Mrs. Berwind died in 1922 at age 66. She left her impressive collection of jewelry to her wealthy husband, but she didn't leave him any money. She wrote in her will, "I do not leave any money to my dearly beloved husband, because he does not need it. I thank him now for his never-failing generosity to me and mine, thus acknowledging the great sense of appreciation I have always had in his generous treatment of me." You can tell they had a great respect for one another, just in that line alone. After she died, Edward's sister Julia stepped into the role of hostess at the Elms, ensuring that the family's social obligations continued, which of course could only be done by the woman of the house. It seems a little unusual, but I can see where Edward might need that hand, especially if he was always used to it. Because during this time, it was all about keeping up appearances and those illusions of perfection, even right in the midst of grief. While the Elms was designed to look perfect and effortless, it took an entire hidden world of labor to keep it that way. And yet all of these people and everything happening in their lives was never meant to be seen. The illusion of Gilded Age living depended on invisibility. Maids had to disappear whenever the family or guests entered a room. Service corridors, back staircases, everything was there so that they could remain unseen and unheard. Then there was Ernest Birch. He arrived from England at just 20 years old and eventually became the Berwinds' trusted butler, a role that demanded discretion, loyalty, and absolute precision. By 1915, he was firmly established at the Elms, traveling with the family between Newport and their Fifth Avenue mansion in New York. Unlike footmen and maids, a butler was actually allowed to marry. And one summer, Ernest fell in love as soon as he met Grace Rhodes. He was 49, she was 31. They married and built a quiet life behind the scenes, living in a cottage just behind the Elms during the summer and in an apartment near the Berwinds' New York residence the rest of the year. Grace later became a cook at the Elms, but it was through the tall and long, hard hours that Ernest finally started to lift the blindfold and see the problems here. By the 1910s and 20s, tensions were rising across domestic service households all across America. The hours were long, days were limited, expectations were relentless, and especially here at the Elms. Mr. Berwin demanded a tight ship. In 1914, members of the Elms staff went on strike, and Berwin's response was swift and harsh. He fired them all and hired all new replacements. No negotiations, no compromises. They were completely dispensable to him. It's a stark reminder of how replaceable domestic workers could be at the time, even if something entirely relied on you to operate. And yet, the system continued. These were the people who were responsible for polishing the marble, tending to the fires, pressing the gowns, laying out the tables, ensuring that the Berwinds' world sparkled. And yet, they weren't treated with very much sparkle. Even though this strike didn't really succeed at the Elms, it was part of a national shift that was already underway, where immigrant workers were beginning to demand better conditions, fairer hours, and better pay. It started to chip away at the illusion that these lavish mansions operated in quiet perfection, revealing just how dependent they were on the people who operated behind the scenes. And over time, it became clear that the old European servant model, built on strict hierarchy and invisibility, didn't translate seamlessly into American society long term. Built in 1901 for the Berwind family, the Elms was designed by Horace Trumbauer, one of the most sought-after architects of the Gilded Age. The house was modeled after the 18th century Chateau d'Anneux, located just outside of Paris, a deliberate decision that signaled refinement right off the bat. And you feel that right away standing here. The symmetry, the limestone facade, the controlled proportions. It's a grand Beaux-Arts composition, disciplined, balanced, and very intentional in its style. In Newport society, French design wasn't just beautiful, it was strategic. It said, we belong here, and we've actually always belonged here. Construction began here in 1898, and the house reportedly cost around $1.4 million at the time to build, which would roughly translate to around $55 million today. And that was just the shell. And on the inside, the Berwinds spared no expense. The Elms was dressed with the most modern conveniences of its time. Electricity, refrigeration, central heating, luxurious bathrooms, all maintained by a staff of roughly 40 to 45 servants working behind the scenes. And as for the interiors, the Berwinds hired renowned designer Jules Allard. Allard offered a one-stop shop for wealthy American patrons during the Gilded Age, many of whom lived in Newport. Allard wasn't just providing furniture and design for the family. He provided ceilings, paneling, lighting fixtures, textiles, sculptures, art, entire rooms created in France and assembled right here. He was also, in many ways, a lifestyle architect and coach. He advised families on collecting art, on how to receive diplomats when they visited, on how to speak about architecture in a refined manner, on how to dine elegantly, because during the Gilded Age, especially in Newport, style was social currency, and you would take any advice you could get from the masters and the experts, which Jules Allard was very much considered. French design was the highest expression of taste. By 1962, the house was at risk of demolition. The last Berwin family member no longer wanted it. All of the contents inside that were able to be sold were auctioned off and scattered across the country. The Elms could have disappeared entirely. Instead, the Preservation Society of Newport stepped in, purchasing the house and opening it to the public within just a year. Today, they are in a constant treasure hunt for the original objects once belonging to the house. Furniture, art, decorative pieces, all of which mostly has been tracked down at auction and private collections and just gradually donated back to the home. Approximately 70% of the original contents have been reacquired or remain associated with the house in some way, and the exact number fluctuates all the time because they're always finding new things. The world of preservation here is an active and very constant treasure hunt. In that mission, the hunt to bring history back into its proper place is part of what makes touring houses like these so powerful. As soon as you enter the house, the space feels very formal. The staircase curves upward in one clean sweep, framed by ironwork that feels delicate and detailed. Even the ceiling painting is contained within heavy classical framing. Nothing spills beyond its borders. There's a calm to this entrance. Again, this was modeled after an 18th century French chateau. It's refined without being too loud, which definitely stands in contrast with some of the other places that we've recently visited in Newport together. And that distinction is important, because the Elms wasn't trying to overwhelm you with splendor like the Marble House and the Breakers were. They wanted you to think that this has always been here, like you feel when you step inside the palaces and chateaus in Europe. They wanted their legacy to feel long established and grounded. And at the time, if you decorated in the French tradition, you were signaling that you had taste, real taste, established and credible taste. Just off the main hall is the South Alcove, this elegant display case that was custom designed for the first floor hall right here, assembled by Jules Allard of Paris. There are porcelain figurines and sculptures, personal objects from when the family lived here. But look at these 3 matching orange and gold vases. They were originally part of a set of 5 meant to decorate a mantle, and this set of vases was created in the famous French porcelain factory at Sèvres. And get this, they were delivered to the King's Palace at Versailles on Christmas Eve, 1773. I was captivated by these, and I didn't even realize they were meant for the Palace of Versailles until I was doing my research afterwards. This is Edward Berwind's library. The palette deepens, the wood paneling is even darker, heavier, and the look leans into a Renaissance revival style. Like most libraries and grand homes like these were very masculine spaces. And nearby, we actually see a portrait of Jules Allard, the designer, that tells you everything about how this designer was so much more than just that. It shows how much the Berwinds leaned on him and how much they respected the art of French design. Notice the small detail on his lapel. It's the insignia of the Legion of Honor, France's highest national distinction. That medal signifies prestige not just in design, but in cultural authority. It was the Berwinds showing the world that they hired the best of the best to not only design the interiors of this house, but also help secure their place in society. And here we are in the drawing room. This is where guests would withdraw after dinner and after dancing, whatever happened to be going on in the social scene here at the Elms. The room is inspired to look like an opulent 18th century style French drawing room, and that it does. It's soft in here, brighter, the palette lifts you up almost. The ceiling painted here is called Dawn by the Dutch artist Jacob de Witt. The woman in pink with the blue drape represents dawn. Beside her is Flora, the Roman goddess of spring holding flowers. It's mythological, romantic, and very much keeping in line with this light French salon-style atmosphere. This room would have been Mrs. Berwind's space, where she had her female guests gather after formal events. Rococo design historically has strong ties to women as patrons of the arts. This is a room meant for social conversation and for display. The furniture was designed, again, by Jules Allard in the Louis XV style. You can see it here in the curved cabriole legs and in the carved frames, and he was known for adapting traditional French style for Gilded Age comfort. These chairs are larger than what true 18th century French chairs would look like. The main reception rooms on this floor are arranged on an axis, what the French call enfilade, one grand space unfolding into the next. You see this when you go to the Palace of Versailles or any of the grand palaces that you might see in Europe. It's a very common European traditional design style. But unlike a strict French palace layout, Trumbauer designed this house to flow. Guests weren't forced in one direction. They could circulate back into the galleries or out toward the gardens. It feels grand, but it makes everything much more open feeling. And this is also echoed upstairs too, which we'll see later. And here we are in the ballroom. The ballroom is unapologetically French and very much my style. Gilded paneling, tall doors to the terrace, tall mirrors, symmetry everywhere you look. This was the center of social life here. You can just feel it. The windows along the garden wall are actually doors. In the summer, they would have opened straight onto the terrace. Guests could arrive from outside and step directly into the party from here. Symmetry mattered deeply in 18th century French interiors. Even here, a pair of doors were designed purely to preserve balance. The architecture keeps the room composed, even when it's filled with movement. And yet, like so much of the Gilded Age, what happened behind closed doors didn't really match what was being presented up front. And one of those examples is right here. It's a painting of Gilded Age society hostess Elizabeth Drexel Lair, painted in 1905 by an Italian painter in Paris named Giovanni Boldini. She's holding her beloved Pomeranian dog named Hippodale. Known as Bessie by her friends, on her wedding night in 1901, her new husband, Harry Lair, had a confession. He told her, "I do not love you. I can never love you. Your money is your only asset in my eyes. Do not come near me except when we are in public, or you will force me to repeat the truth that you are actually repugnant to me." This was heart-wrenching, even for me to read out loud. But for Bessie, to ask for a divorce during this time was out of the question. It meant, basically, social suicide. Alva Vanderbilt, who had just went through her own divorce, even told Bessie she was happy to help her get through it. But Bessie did not want the public scandal. But above everything else, she didn't want to disappoint her Catholic mother. So she resigned herself to the conditions of her marriage. And they remained married for 28 more years until he died. So Bessie was going through a really hard time behind closed doors. But in this painting, you'd never guess it. She's the epitome of the Gilded Age, the facade that everyone put up, the gilded, beautiful exterior that was covering the tarnish and truth in the layer beneath. Bessie calls their marriage a tragic farce, so she completely throws herself into the Gilded Age social world. But not only just that, she embodied it, and I think we really feel that here. This is the formal dining room. This room was specifically styled around the painting surrounding us. The entire series is from the same collection, which comes from a Venetian palace. They all depict different images from European history. This is actually one of the largest collections of Venetian artwork outside of Venice. During the Gilded Age, owning an 18th century Venetian painting was incredibly fashionable during the time, especially right here in Newport. Venice was a powerful seaside republic built on trade, wealth, and art, and Newport's industrial elite, the new money of society, saw the direct parallel right here between the two thriving seaside cities. 50 years after being sold off, the paintings were finally all reunited with their companions. So today, you're looking at the whole complete family. One of the most striking details in this room is the fireplace. It's built from marble, agate, and onyx, and you can see the layers in the stone. The veining shifts from dense to dramatic and almost turns translucent in certain places. It catches the light differently depending on where you're standing. It's not just one flat material. It's composed, assembled, and curated. And this ceiling is spectacular. It's a coffered plaster ceiling, but it's painted to resemble oak. And when you look up, it looks just like carved woodwork. Between the stone, the painted oak effect, and the Venetian painting surrounding us, this room leans fully into that theatrical European atmosphere that Louis XIV also heavily leaned into when he was designing the Palace of Versailles. Again, the Berwinds keeping very in line with French style throughout the home. This is the lovely and very serene conservatory. The light shifts in here. It's softer, airy. These tall windows would be thrown open during the summers, letting in ocean air and all of the smells from the garden to sweep through the home. It was meant to feel more relaxed, like you're sitting on a bench in a garden in Paris. The mirrors in here were placed intentionally, meant to reflect the views outside and bring the gardens indoors. Julia, Edward's sister, loved to play mahjong in here. There's a set right here on the table nearby. She was also a big fan of bridge. If she was short a player, she would ask her butler to step in and play, but she would also ask him to stand in between his turns. Rude, and also a reminder of the distinction and hierarchy here. The marble statues in here are breathtaking. One features Apollo, god of the sun, and on the right we see Aphrodite with Eros on her side. These date to around 1750 and were originally purchased from the owners of the Chateau d'Anières, the very estate that inspired this house. This is the breakfast room, and it surprisingly feels intimate in here compared to the other spaces we've seen so far. Jules Allard designed the entire space around these Chinese lacquer panels that line the walls. This is chinoiserie, a French interpretation of Chinese decorative arts. And at the turn of the 20th century, it was incredibly fashionable among the elite because it signaled worldliness. It meant that you were participating in a global design conversation, one that required you to travel to get that design knowledge firsthand. It says something about how these families saw themselves as collectors, as patrons, and as suppliers of the arts, participating in something much larger. And look closely at the panels. 3 of them were actually made in China in the mid-1700s, and the 4th one is a 19th century Parisian copy created to complete the full set. Can you tell which one it is? Let me know what you think in the comments below, and I'll let you know if you're right or not. And don't cheat. And here's the lower level of the butler's pantry, the quiet engine behind everything that we've just experienced in the dining room. It sits between the basement kitchen and the formal spaces next door. Every course passed through here right before reaching the table, and up above us on the 2nd level was used for storage, and we're going to see that space later on. Now we're upstairs in the Stair Hall. There are 7 bedrooms on this level, and if that sounds modest for a house of this scale, it makes more sense when you remember how Newport functioned. Most of the Berwind's guests already had their own summer cottages or had arrangements somewhere else. Up here, the atmosphere does shift. It feels quieter, less performative, yet still beautiful. The rooms are arranged for comfort and privacy rather than ceremonial display. And this is the Rose Room. Soft pinks, striped silk walls, all elegant and French in style. In Louis XVI, you can see it in the clean lines of the furniture and the neoclassical details, the symmetry, carved medallions, and the fluted legs. The bed canopy is a signature French boudoir staple. The gathered drapery was meant to make an impact and also meant to create privacy and intimacy in rooms with very high ceilings. Remember, the Berwinds didn't have any children, but they welcomed 4 nieces into their lives. They embraced them almost as if they were their own adopted daughters. This was the regular guest bedroom of Anita Strawberry Grosvenor, the Berwinds' grandniece. It feels personal in here, yet intimate. And here we're in the Louis XV room. Shifting now from Louis XVI back to Louis XV, we see softer lines, more movement in the furniture with its curves. I love the full display of different French styles throughout this home. It's so dedicated to the art of French design. If you were invited to stay at the Elms, this probably would have been where you slept. The room feels warmer than the Rose Room. Deeper tones, richer drapery, more curves in the furniture. It's meant to impress a little bit more. So this would have been reserved for guests staying in from out of town. And this is Miss Julia Berwind's bedroom, Edward's sister, and you can feel the difference in here immediately. It's soft, more restrained, and more lived in. She stayed longer than the rest of the family here. The season officially started in July, but she came in May. And it ended in September, but she didn't leave until October. The rest of the year she lived in New York at the Savoy Hotel. She continued spending her summers here into the 1920s, and that's part of why this room feels slightly more updated and lived in, because it actually was. Her tastes were shifting, and that's reflected here. The canopy bed, the yellow silk drapery, the clean wall treatments, it feels very early 20th century. Still French in influence, but less ornate in style. This is Mrs. Berwind's bedroom, and here we shift right back to Louis XV style. You see it in the curves, the carved cabriole legs, the softened edges, the pale gilding that catches the light without overwhelming the room, the hand-embroidered bed coverlet beautifully complementing the silk wall coverings, giving everything this gentle glow and elegant feel. This was Mrs. Berwind's personal space. You can imagine her writing her letters right here. Decisions were made here because in houses like this, the husband and wife had separate bedrooms. These homes in Newport and other grand homes across the country very much kept in line with European tradition, where the lady and the master of the house had separate bedrooms. And for all you Gilded Age fans out there, you might recognize this room as Gladys Russell's bedroom, although HBO did come in and add their own props to make the space look as it does in the show. The vibe of this room really sets the perfect scene. The adjoining bathroom connects to the neighboring guest bedroom, creating a private suite, which was actually quite modern for 1901. Indoor plumbing, hot and cold running water, and a connected bath were part of what made the Elms so advanced at the time when it was built. The bathrooms at the Elms were the high point of luxury in their time. We see modern white tile throughout with a touch of French style, and I love that little delicate nod to French design. I just love her vanity table right here looking out. Such a perfect view as you're getting ready. It's little details like this that make you feel like you're stepping right back into history when you're on house tours like this. This is Mr. Berwind's bedroom. A gentleman's bedroom was typically always smaller than the woman's bedroom. Edward Berwind barely spent any time here. During summers, he would work all week in New York and come here just for the weekends. The room right now is currently experiencing some preservation restoration work, but I was able to snag some photos to see what the room looked like before it was redone. I heard that they received some original pieces of furniture here for the bedroom, the complete set apparently made by Jules Allard, so I can't wait to see that the next time I'm here. And here we are in his connecting bathroom. The white tile would have absolutely appealed to Mr. Berwind's taste and style. He was a Naval Academy graduate, so this look feels crisp, controlled, and almost disciplined, which makes sense for his personality. The sink is carved from slabs of translucent white onyx, and when light hits it, they say that it almost glows. Even the fixtures feel so early 20th century in here, functional, engineered, and modern. There's a sense of just embracing innovation in this room, which I love to see in old homes. And here we are in the upstairs sitting room. The red damask panels give it warmth and elegance, but the white boiserie keeps it structured and elegant. The proportions are balanced, tall ceilings, curved walls, crystal chandelier centered, grounding the whole room. You can see how it functions differently than in the public rooms below. There's a writing desk, a piano, smaller upholstered chairs, meaning conversation was encouraged rather than public display. This is where family actually sat, gathered, and lived. Newport's social season typically began in early July and lasted through September, but preparing for the Elms to open for that short window of summer was a massive undertaking. For 6 weeks before the family arrived, staff would literally wake up the house. Every surface was cleaned, every inch of the floor was polished, draperies were fluffed without any creases or folds, china was unpacked, the kitchen pantries were stocked, fresh linens were laid out, and in each bedroom, a vase of fresh flowers was placed by the bed, a small but delicate gesture that signaled the house. When the season ended, everything up here was carefully wrapped and tied in slipcovers. The furniture was protected, the rugs were rolled up, the house essentially went right back to sleep and hibernated for the winter. This hallway skylight is pretty remarkable. There isn't a roof above the skylight itself. It's a glass brick floor in the staff quarters upstairs. There's another skylight up right above this one, and the light filters down here from the roof 1 story up. This layered system of natural light gave the house an extra glow during the day, especially in interior spaces like this that don't have exterior windows. It's practical, smart, and quietly innovative. And tucked in just right over here is another gold French-style guest bedroom, another fabulous option to stay in as one of the Berwinds' personal guests. And here we are in the sewing room. This space feels incredibly personal and lived in too. This is the place where a button was hemmed in a pinch, or where clothes were made and altered. And here we are again in the Butler's pantry, but upstairs this time. This is the mezzanine level between the first and second floors. This is the top half of the second-story Butler's pantry that we saw earlier. You can really see how gorgeous the china was that was used here. Everything is organized, everything accounted for, and everything is gorgeous. Before dinner, Mrs. Berwind consulted with her butler on the best set of china and crystal to use. That would be planned and set aside right in here. The safe is also in here. It was used for the silver. Mr. Berwind's silver traveled on the steamship from New York back and forth along with the family every time they came here. The silver stayed with them. This is the cold kitchen. Here, the staff would prepare cold dishes away from the intense heat of the main kitchen. The long table in the center is covered in zinc. This kept things cool as you prepared them on the table. This large oak cabinet holds the original electrical switchboard for the Elms. For all those Gilded Age fans out there, this is the kitchen that was used as part of the downstairs world of the Russells' New York elaborate mansion. And here is the main kitchen. The man in charge down here was the chef. And yes, he was French, of course. At the turn of the century, French cuisine wasn't just fashionable, it was the standard as well. If you were building a house modeled after an 18th century French chateau, you weren't hiring just anyone. You had to hire a French chef to run the show. He commanded a full kitchen staff, cooks, pastry chefs, kitchen maids, scullery workers, all working in shifts. During the height of the season, it could take 25 to 40 staff members downstairs to execute a single formal dinner upstairs. And just looking at the scale of this space, it's incredible. The massive coal range stretches across the entire back wall. This is a very industrial stove, coal-fired, constant heat. You can just imagine how hot it must have been in here during July. Leaving the Elms feels unfinished to me. I want to know more about the people who made this incredible world possible. There was another tour that focuses on the staff, and I think I want to do that one next. Let me know in the comments though if that's something you all would be interested in. I have family that lives in the area, so expect more New England videos from me this year. Also, please consider becoming a member of our community, and your level of contribution will help ensure that these house tours can keep coming your way each week. Your contribution goes directly towards transportation, any ticket costs, donations that I make to these homes when I go and tour them. It is not cheap to bring these to you all, and I want to keep bringing them to you each and every week. So in order to do that, make sure to not only subscribe, please consider becoming a member of our community, or heading over to fablittleddish.shop and picking up one of the exclusive vintage house souvenirs that are only at my store. Thank you all for being here, for watching, and for helping to support this incredible journey we're on of educating the world about our beautiful historic homes across the country. Until next week, my friends, keep enjoying the beauty of vintage home. Au revoir.